Hey everyone, welcome to my very first episode on Identity Library. My name is Veronica Becker and I'm sitting with my best friend Loridana Foksha in the studio. Ooh, so excited.
Is that too loud?
So
Sorry.
excited.
All right.
Both are really nervous, yes. Loridana is sitting right now with a green little frog, squishing it the whole time like an
This
anti-stress
makes me
ball.
feel better.
Oh my gosh, I don't know. Whatever. So today we're here to kind of talk about my best friend, and I was thinking if I'm starting a podcast, then it has to be with her before she disappears.
Can I say you really manifested this? Because I remember. Let me tell a little story about the podcast.
Okay.
I remember when we first met. The joke about having a podcast became. It happened so quickly, and it just became a running joke the entire time because of how many good conversations we would have. So we were even back then we were trying to figure out a name for our podcast, and I really like Identity Library. At first I was like, it sounds like a book, a very a fiction, but it's really good. I really like this. So I'm super excited. I'm very honored to be your first guest. So yay.
To kind of give a rundown on my podcast, well, all my friends were always talking about, oh, Veronica, you should start a podcast. And just recently, one of my friends said, well, it sounds like white noise. If you're ever in a research lab and you're like, what should I do? Well, you're apparently listening to my podcast. So whatever you're doing right now, grab a hot cup of tea and enjoy it as white noise.
Yay.
Jokes aside, my favorite phrase,
which was actually one of the contenders for her name. I thought it was a really good idea. Jokes aside.
It's going to be a new podcast in the future. You know,
in the future. You'll have so many podcasts.
I know this is not healthy, I think.
Yeah. I feel like I should be closer to the mic. Okay.
Yeah. But then, well, what happened? Everyone's telling me I should just start a podcast, and I was debating to do that because my favorite podcaster is Marie Novosad. She is actually a different podcaster, completely Russian heritage, and she moved to Los Angeles. And I was listening to her podcast all the time. It was more like relationship advice, and I liked it a lot. It was something I never saw on the market yet. And well, I was like, I don't know if I'm crazy enough to do that. And every single time when I tried to record a podcast episode, it didn't work out. Because something would happen.
Yeah.
First time, I almost burned the cookies in my oven. Not even kidding. I end up almost burning down a whole building, and the fire alarm went off. Congratulations on my side. The second time, I was like, well, everything is fine, but my phone died. I'm not even kidding. And then the third time, I was like, now's the time. I'm gonna just start one, and it's gonna be perfect. Well, I was sitting in my closet, and a random spider dropped on me. And this is how everything stopped.
She has a very crazy, well, not crazy. It's followed by an entire culture, but there's a superstition that if you encounter a spider, something's gonna happen to you. Usually it's something bad, but with Veronica, something big is just gonna happen to you. And every single time it happens, she calls me. She's like, Lore, there's a spider. Something's gonna happen. I think this is what it is. And then she gives me a really big, deep analysis. And I'm like, okay. You sound very much like my mother right now. But we'll get into that later.
I feel like I have to drop the story with the spider and my mom.
Which one?
Well, I moved over the summer to a different apartment, and I'm just sitting there and I'm like, yeah, well, everything's fine, cool. And I'm having this daily call with my mom in Germany. And I'm like, well, Mom, the nice thing is in this new apartment, we don't have cockroaches anymore, but we have spiders. And I'm just sitting there and I'm so happy and so proud about, this new discovery. And then something is crawling up my leg, and literally is a huge big spider. And I've never seen such a big spider crawling in my apartment on me.
Yeah.
And my mom starts laughing. She's like, oh my gosh, the spider thought you're like a worm tree. And my other friend, Varun, was joking about the same thing. They said the same thing. And I'm like, I think something's gonna happen. And then, well, I got accepted into a fellowship program and get the podcast. So,
yeah.
Whoa.
I feel like this summer is a very eventful summer for you. A lot of things have happened, good and bad. Yeah.
I know, but that's what summers are for, right?
Yeah.
how to be in your 20s and enjoy your
Just figuring out who you are and who you want to be, I guess.
I feel
Everything happens when you're in college.
I feel like this episode is just about why I started a podcast to begin with, and then we're gonna record a second episode about why you're here. That's okay.
Why am I here?
Why you're here, exactly. Well, I don't know. Giving a little bit of rundown of should I introduce myself to my people?
I get okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Go off, girl.
Okay, cool.
Go off, queen. Yeah.
Oh gosh. Well, my name is Veronica, and I'm a German student in the IBDD program. Studying, my senior year, studying international business or business administration, and getting 2 degrees, one from a German university, one from a NC State. Minoring in horticulture science. Wow. And I have some Russian heritage. So that's the background. Pretty young, pretty old at the same time. Cool. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Should I introduce? No. Are you gonna?
No.
Okay.
I wouldn't. Yeah. Introduce yourself.
Okay. Hello. My name is Loridana Foksha. I am an NC State student, obviously. I'm doing business administration with a concentration in marketing right now, and I'm also in the IBD program, which is not how we met. Actually, we'll get into that later. But we need to. But I'm on the other side of the exchange program, so I'm doing my first 2 years here and my second 2 years, or my last 2 years, in Spain. Actually, I fly out a week from now, I think, on the 14th.
Oh my gosh! Don't remind me. I was actually, when I arrived here, it was the 8th of August. We're
so
approaching
for you,
it.
it's I was thinking about that earlier. It was this has been an entire year for you living in the States, and it's almost going to be our anniversary of our friendship.
That sounds crazy.
Yeah.
Other people are married or have relationships while we just celebrate our friendship.
Yeah.
Let's normalize that.
Anyways, yeah. What day is it today?
6th.
To give them context, the 6th. Yeah, I fly out on the 14th. Get there on the 15th. Going to stay there for the next 2 years. Very excited about that. And guess on my background, because you introduced your background, my family is from Moldova, so it's a country under Ukraine next to Romania. Very Slavic, Balkan. We speak Romanian. Yeah.
And some other random Russian words.
Random Russian words thrown in there. It's like a dialect, I'd say. Well, Moldovan was recognized as a language after the Soviet Union ended, but then it's not anymore. Me and my family consider it more of a dialect because it's basically just Romanian with some Russian slang thrown in there. I remember growing up and I'd ask my mom oh, I forgot the word for this. What is it in Romanian? And she gives me the Romanian word. I'm like, that's not it. And she gives me a Russian word. I'm like, that word was in Russian the entire time. I found out very late that I was speaking a hybrid of 2 languages, which is crazy. My parents are hillbillies of Moldova, so
oh my gosh.
I'd say we're southern. So.
You should not say that. Well, southern lore.
Southern Moldovan lore. Yes.
Well, to give all our listeners a rundown of what happened, every single time when she's in my kitchen randomly cooking with me and she says something and I'm like, oh, I know this word. And she looks at me and how do you know that? I'm like, this is Russian. This is not Romanian.
I'm like, what?
Wrong language.
Wrong language. I'm like, oh my goodness. My mother has never told me. But the thing is, it's it's the kind of quote unquote language dialect that I grew up speaking. I remember I had a friend who was from Chisinau, which is the capital of Moldova, and she spoke very good Romanian versus me, who was a hybrid of multiple languages, or not just 2, but kind of a more informal version. And I could not understand her at some times, and she was speaking too fast and very formal, and I was like, I don't know what you're saying, but okay, cool.
That's okay. That's how I love your mom, by the way. We just have to feature her for a second.
I'm going to talk a lot about my mom. She's great.
But it's the moment I moved here, I was missing Slavic culture so much that when we met each other and her mom gave me this jar of pickled.
So yeah, I went home and I told my mom about you, and my mom always loves giving me always wants to give me food back. So she gave me homemade sauerkraut that she made. And I brought it over, and
I was just sitting there like half crying on her floor, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like the best thing ever. I told my mom
I think
the whole
I've
thing.
brought plushinti. How do you?
Well, we say it can be like blinchiki, but it can be also
It's not
like,
really blinchki. Blinchki
Yeah,
is something
it's
kind of.
it's not really pancakes, but it's similar. Do you want to describe what it is?
So my mom makes this. Is it egg or water? The dough.
Well, it
This
depends.
dough,
It
and then so for 2 days she makes the brinza, the cheese herself, and it's this like crumbly farmer's cheese, and then we season it a little bit. We put it in some dough. We either fry it up or we roll it up and put it in the oven. Such a delicacy, like one of my favorite foods, and so I brought that over. You can also make it with like kurek, with cabbage and potatoes and apples. All sorts of fillings. So
it's amazing.
so good. Yeah, my mom makes the best. So
there's like one fun fact. It's when you have two like backgrounds, and it's German and Russian, and then depending on what family you meet, they kind of pick what they want you to be. So it's like, you're not German, you're Russian now.
My parents, yeah. No, I talk to you. Oh, my mom. I'm like, the joke with your name. My mom, I like talk to you. I'm like, Veronica, this, and it's like, Veronica. No, it's Veronica. Veronica, and I'm like, oh, Veronica then.
Yeah.
Farther away or closer?
You're good.
I'm good. Okay.
When you're too excited to be close to the microphone.
Like this.
Exactly.
ASMR. Okay.
ASMR. So, okay, kind of going now into why I invited you here.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, well, your background is fantastic, and I love how we met each other, and it was such a like a long story. And if you want to get into it, we can talk about that. How we met each other and how we became best friends.
We can do a quick little recap.
Yes.
We met. Was it the first day of school?
Yes.
So I go to jazz class because I signed up for jazz and jazz dance class, and I'm sitting there, and then some girl comes up to me and she starts talking to me, and I'm like, please. It's like, this girl's so annoying. I'm kidding. I know. I'm like, oh, someone to talk to. So like she's talking everything, and as soon as she speaks and like recognize that her accent, she's like, oh, I'm from Germany. I knew from that moment she's an IBDD, and I tell her about. But like, I don't want to ask her up front in case I'm wrong. So I'm like, oh, I'm in this program, IBDD. And she's like, oh, I'm in it too. And I'm like, I know, because I guessed. So, yeah.
And the best thing ever was I felt like a stalker. I watched all her videos online on YouTube. Dancing,
Fusion, yeah.
Fusion, and
I was in Fusion for my first year.
While I was in Germany, and I didn't even know that
she
was
knew
her.
who I was.
Yes.
She knew where I was. She was like, I'm going to do dance because Loridana's there. I don't think you knew it. You didn't know exactly who I was. No, I'm joking.
It didn't even make like, for me it was more like, oh, this girl's so lonely. She's so lonely, and I was like, she doesn't talk to anyone, so I'm gonna sit next to her.
I'm aghast. I cannot believe you just said that. You've never told me. Oh, I feel are you exposing me? I probably did look lonely. I was just sitting there. I mean, I just got there.
Everyone knew each other, and then it was just a full class of girls dancing in this one guy, and it was crazy. And there was only one seat left next to her, and I'm like, I'm gonna sit down. She looks actually fun to talk to. So I ended up sitting next to her, and she introduced me to so many great people.
Yeah. That day, one of our really close friends, like we were right after class, we were in Tally, and I found one of my really close friends, and I introduced him to her, and we're now like a good friend group. So
yes, I know she's leaving. Shame on her.
Bye. I'm so sorry.
So kind of like the story why, again, going back to actually the topic, why I invited you over. Well, because your background was so specific and so interesting, and I knew you for a whole year, I felt like starting a podcast with you as my first guest would be like the greatest gift ever before she disappears. This is right now the most stressful thing I've ever done, because we had to set up everything in 10 minutes, and
I was waiting the entire time. My heart was pitter-pattering. I was like so nervous. I'm better. I'm better right now.
So if anyone ever feels nervous about something, just find a green frog in your room and starts
I
questioning.
was looking at that green
crazy.
frog earlier, and I was like, maybe I can take that if there's nothing. I asked for a stress ball. Stress ball. Fall. Stress fall. No, what is it? Trust fall. Okay, yeah. That was crazy.
I want to talk about something that was maybe going into like traditional medicine.
Mm-hmm.
We had this conversation, and I just would love to share it with the audience.
Yeah.
And it's just, growing up Russian, in a way, like half Russian, my grandma in Russia taught me so many things that just no one else would,
Yeah.
like even talk about how
Yeah.
to not go to a doctor. I'm not saying
How
you should
to-
not go to a doctor, but maybe this will
But,
help
like,
you in the United
in
States.
some circumstances,
Yeah.
maybe you're in a situation.
So what is something that you remember growing up?
Yeah. To give some backstory, my mom, like, she herself, like, she knew, I guess, like, medicinal ways to, like, treat people, I guess. And then, like, the Slavic way, the old-ish ways, not, like, modern medicine, but, like, ways to kind of cure for, like, help yourself. And then she also taught herself a lot in America. She has like journals and journals full of writing from like doctors she would watch, whether it be American doctors or Slavic doctors. She usually like went to American or doctors. The big one was Dr. Berg. We made fun of her a lot. She's like, "Oh, you're watching your boyfriend, Dr. Berg." She's not, but like as a joke. I'm gonna cut that out.
No. We have to keep that.
My mom watched a lot of Dr. Berg and like other doctors growing up when I was growing up, and we weren't, I guess, we didn't go to the doctor a lot because a lot of the time my mom knew how to treat us and take care of us. So a lot of things were, we eat a lot of ginger and a lot of onion and a lot of spices. One drink that we would make, it was just hot water. And my mom had like specific spices that you would have to put in it. I don't really remember those spices. I just grabbed every single spice from the spice cabinet and just started throwing them in there in the cup with hot water.
So if you ever go to Loridana's place
and you're sick, I'm gonna give you.
Be careful.
I'm gonna give you water that tastes like steak, but without the meat. That's literally what it reminds me of.
That was literally what I was thinking of. She's just gonna put in the meat seasoning into
Literally, I would put everything, and then sometimes like lemon juice and apple cider vinegar would go in that cup. And like the thing was like all of these spices and whatnot. Like even if one served absolutely no purpose, it wouldn't hurt to put it in it. So like as long as you didn't miss like a very good beneficial one. I remember growing up, like my mom would give us borscht, and she would I got quieter. My mom would give us borscht, and she put thyme is good for your respiratory system, and I'd put ginger and cayenne pepper and like stuff like that. So we ate a lot of spices growing up, she'd put it in everything, but a big one was like hot water. And she'd make tea from she'd buy herbs, or sometimes we had a mint garden, like a small little mint patch in front of our house, and like every morning, actually we got so tired from it, like no wonder we were at school falling asleep, is because like we drank mint tea in the morning. And we're like, now we realize when we're older, we're like, oh, mom just gave us mint tea all the time. Turn down the volume. Is this better? Okay, yeah. Anyways, so lots of food, tea, like garlic and ginger, as I said before, turmeric, stuff like that. Turmeric. I don't know. I'm like trying to remember how my mom says it because I love the way that she speaks with her accent.
This reminds me when you one of the reasons why I call you Lore and not Dana is because she freaks out every single time when I mention it.
It sounds like my mom.
And I'm like...
because a lot of other people would say Donna, but the way you say is Dana.
Dana.
Oh my God. Like, it sends me back. Like,
Dana.
Yeah.
This just reminds me of that. But I remember my grandma would do the same thing. She would, teas and, we would use chamomile tea.
Yeah.
But the water for different, even, for your hair.
Mm-hmm.
So many different remedies.
Yeah.
One thing that I remember to this point is if you ever have the situation that you're in the woods somewhere
in the woods
somewhere, you never know, whatever happens to you.
That's ominous.
Yeah, exactly.
That's like foreshadowing. If you're ever in the woods.
It's a book, exactly, right?
Yeah.
Foreshadowing, just don't worry, it's not a foreshadowing of you dying. You're just probably
That's
gonna
crazy.
be a warm tree to a spider. But basically, if you ever have like encountered some nettle,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
and like
My mom. Yeah.
and bruise your whole like foot or leg or whatever, it hurts. We would use, and I had to look it up. I'm not even kidding.
Isn't the one that looked like a weed?
Yeah.
I have a story about that, but keep going.
Apparently, so in Russian we would call it podorожник or Wegerich in German, and I was looking it up today in the morning. I'm like, what's the name? And it, like, if you translate it, it means something that grows along a path, and it means plantago or something in English. What's funny? It's like in a plantain family. It's like a little banana tree.
I didn't know that.
And that's not it.
I just knew it was an herb.
And it usually grows along like a path. And if you like rub it on the spot where you got like the nettle,
or like you have a wound or some kind of like bruise there or something like that. Yeah.
It will heal it. Like it's much faster. And I remember just as a kid, I would have like 1,000 of these like leaves just on my legs because we were just stupid.
Yeah.
Wow.
I when I was younger, my mom, like whenever we'd have like wounds or bruises, kind of sores, open sores on our body, like anyone in the family, my mom would make my brother and I, there was a very specific patch in our neighborhood, right, that my brother and I would have to bike to that had the nettle that you're talking about. So my mom would tell us, go with your bikes, go outside for a little bit. Like you need the vitamin D anyway, you're sitting inside all day. Go outside and pick some of the nettle for me. But like, I didn't know she didn't say nettle. She was like, go to the place, and grab some of that for me. And I like, for some reason, my brother and I knew exactly what she was talking about. So we'd like go and we'd bike over there, right? And we'd like pick out the best looking ones and we'd go back. My mom would wash it. My mom would use it. And that like is a very fond memory. And it was like the same place every time. Like, it was right next to the street. We'd like have to bike maybe like a 3-minute bike to over and like it also, my mom would make us go because we needed the little kid, we needed to go outside anyways. So, and we'd come back and my mom would wash it and like she'd use it for us. And it was like small stuff like that. We had this other patch in our backyard that my mom would use to I forgot what it was called, but like sometimes we'd pick it and we'd eat it just like straight from the ground. My mom would sometimes use it in soups and borscht and like random herbs and stuff like that.
Does it look like chives?
No. So it's a thin stem and then it's like a flat leaf on top and it's just like a bunch of like a little patch of those. I have to look it up later. Maybe one of you guys will know what I'm talking about.
Best explanation, right? Well, did you ever encounter something like where you had to get something fixed up, like not even herbal teas, and like your foot was broken? I remember we talked about that.
When I had a sprain. Oh my god!
Yeah.
So this is crazy. So I was in 8th grade. Yeah, 8th grade. And I'm in the living room and I'm trying to do, what is it called? Les secondes, the turns.
Oh, just like
it's a dance term. Like it's a specific type of turn, right? And I'm a child and I don't have any professional training and I just do them randomly on a wood floor. I jump and I turn my leg and I kind of quote unquote I didn't sprain it. So what happened was my bones in my foot shifted and I needed to get put back together. So
it sounds like you're like some doll. Let's just put it
because
together.
That's exactly what happened. My mom, fun fact, as Veronica says. You know what? Okay, side note. When I was hanging out with Alyssa, I literally kept saying Veronica. I was like, oh, Veronica. And I had to like take a stop and I had to be like, oh, I'm not talking to Veronica. I'm talking to Alyssa now.
Just to give everyone a rundown, Alyssa is her other best friend.
And when I was in Charlotte. By the way, before this, I had like 3-hour drive. Anyways, back to what we were talking about. Oh my gosh. So
The most
I
unstructured
know.
thing. All my German heritage right now is just kicking
Yeah.
me.
No, we take a lot of scenic routes whenever we talk, so to get back onto
scenic
track.
routes. It's like, being in the woods.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the
Yeah.
path we were on to
What were we
look at the
talking
random
about?
herbs.
So my mom
Your
takes
leg.
me to. We don't go to the doctor. We don't go to the chiropractor. We don't have the money or the time for that. So my mom in our church, I grew up going to a Russian church. Funny enough, I can barely speak Russian, but we used to go to a Russian church and
Russian Orthodox church.
No, Baptist.
Ooh,
Yeah, it was a
what?
Baptist
Never
church.
mind.
Yep.
Baptist church.
churches. So still very still
Russian.
very Russian.
Slavic.
But
Mhm.
in there was this dude. I'm not gonna say his name, but I kind of want to because it's a fun name to say and it's so Slavic.
It's okay. You can say it.
Babrov.
I don't think, I don't think anyone will find him, honestly.
No. I don't think
Um,
anyone from my Russian church is gonna hear this.
Dear
Babrov.
Babrov, please.
Oh, you can't roll your R's.
I can't. Oh my gosh! Don't start this
I
conversation.
like making fun of that for her.
This called German
Yeah.
R's rule.
Say
the
Babrov.
world. No, we're not doing that. So basically,
It's okay. You can just rewind it.
This is why I can't pronounce any other languages that
Need
need to
the
roll
roller
the R.
R's.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
So Babrov was a certified. Actually, I found out he was he had a certificate or he went to school for a chiropractor in the Soviet Union, right? And usually when you go to the U.S. and you have an actual degree or a certification in something, it doesn't apply in the U.S. So he's not actually certified in the United States. Yeah.
It's the same with my
Yeah.
mom. She's a chemistry and biology professor or teacher. Let's go it this way. Well, she was also teaching in the university, and she had during the Soviet Union, you had to take medicine courses. So she took I think 3 years of medicine courses like a normal doctor. She sometimes knows more than a doctor does, and I think your mom acquired the same knowledge throughout the years. And so when she came to Germany, they didn't acknowledge her degree, and they were like, "Well, you have to teach middle school
That's
kids now."
crazy. Yeah.
And she was like, "What do you mean? I was literally professor." So she got a new certification, but couldn't really teach and do research on things she used to do. But she was like,
it sucks. It sucks
in
that some
university.
countries don't recognize certifications or degrees
the degree.
in
So true,
and-
so true.
yeah.
But yeah, going back to this
this-
mysterious man.
So-
We're in the woods. Just to give you a little landscape, thought. Close your eyes, please. We're gonna meditate now. So you're running through these woods. You're avoiding all the little spiders that are randomly crawling on you because they think that you're a warm tree. And then you get to the path. You walk, and then you find this random little house somewhere in the woods. It's out of wood. Yeah, and you kind of give it gets you into fairy tales, Russian fairy tales. If you think of do you know Baba Yaga?
Baba Yaga. We used to play
Baba
Baba
Yaga.
Yaga with the.
Baba Yaga is basically the witch
The
that is
house.
living in the woods.
Isn't she a
in the
house?
house? Yeah,
Yeah.
she lives in this. She lives in the house
spirit
with
animal. I love her.
with these.
I love Baba Yaga. I want to be
So,
Baba Yaga.
There's
Baba Yaga. I want to be so bedrot. I become my house.
It's just crazy. No, she's not the house, but she has a house, a wooden house that has 2 legs, and it's 2 chicken legs that can run and walk, and this is crazy. Whatever. Izba na kujich nóżkach. I think that's the name.
I don't know,
or
girl.
something. But the fact inside. Well, a little babushka decided to
Little
not be
babushka.
inside the little wood house, and we are seeing the sky sitting there and healing Loridana's leg.
So my mom takes me to this guy, this Soviet Union chiropractor. That's not that's doing under the table work. So I go there, right? I'm in pain. All right. And this is the next day. So we go in there, right? And he's like, sit down. He doesn't speak to me because he doesn't know English. I don't know Russian. My mom
Sit down,
is
that's
translating. And I'm
Mhm.
I think he had guests over. No, but I'm just in the hallway right next to the door, right? I'm sitting on the ground, and he just takes my foot, and like right now I'm in pain, right? I can't even like move it. I can't touch it. He takes my foot and he stretches it to put my bones back in place, and while doing that, tears my ligament in my foot, right?
Little disclaimer, if you can't listen to these things, I'm sorry, it's a little bit late.
I'm screaming.
Don't die,
That's
please.
crazy.
Oh my god.
I'm screaming and crying, right? And it's a whole thing. It lasts for like 5 minutes tops. And it was probably one of the most painful things. She's cracking. It was one of the most painful things I've ever experienced in my entire life. He's taking my foot and stretching it, right? Ripping my ligaments, right? And afterwards, my mom hands him $20 a week go home. And everything's fine. And then I have to like, my ligaments heal in the time span of like 2 weeks.
So what are we learning from this experience? Well, if you ever broke and you're a student and you find a random Soviet Union say hi from Veronica and Loridana Foksha, because I think he probably knows us in and out. We're probably on the blacklist of mentioning his name now.
Whoop.
Well,
he gets new customers. I hope he doesn't get found out.
Gosh. This is like marketing.
This is marketing, but also he could be found out because I don't think this is legal.
We never said anything.
You should bleep out his name.
Well,
maybe. I don't know. You should ask.
Okay.
We'll figure it out afterwards. Anyways.
It's funny because Bobrov is actually like an animal.
Oh, what? This is what? This is news.
I forgot the name of it. You know the ones that like live close to the water.
Beaver?
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
I love how our brains just work so well. She really
No, I knew. She said the one that lives near the water. Bobrov, beaver. All right. Yep, got it.
Yes, it means beaver.
I did not know that.
Fun fact.
I feel like I knew that maybe at some point. I don't know.
Beaver, our best friend. We're kind of steering the conversation into a different direction than traditional medicine.
So, long story short, I guess I didn't go to the doctor.
Do you have any last advice before we close this specific topic?
Or like last
about if you're ever, having a cold, what would you do?
My mom, she would take 2 small little balls of cotton, right? Douse them in isopropyl alcohol. And then put it in our ears, not all the way, but like just kind of stuff them in our ears a bit, and then take a headscarf, and like wrap it around our entire head, so that they'd stay in place, and we go to sleep. And then when it was really bad, she would we'd be on the bed, belly side down, back up, and like our shirts are off, and she would be rubbing isopropyl alcohol all over our bodies. And what this did for our ears, there's like a canal that connects through your throat in some way that like makes it warm, and then I guess it like kills the toxins in there. And then with the rubbing all over our bodies, right afterwards she'd clothe us with like really warm clothing and make us go to bed, and we'd kind of like sweat out the cold. And I still do the cotton balls to this day. Like I'll put it in my ears whenever I'm sick. It works. So just to give a closure here, if you're a college student and you have random alcohol in your closet, isopropyl, we don't recommend tequila in your ears. Choose your drink wisely. What's the pink one? Pink Whitney. Don't put Pink Whitney in your ears, please. Yes, choose your drink wisely. Isopropyl. But recommend like 75. Take some cotton. And if you feel like everyone is loud anyway because they're partying next door, you can, have like 2 in 1. Yeah. It's like a 2 in 1. It cotton in your ears as well as like to not hear your neighbors, and as well get 2 on. They work for both. My mom, when Casey and I would fight, my mom would do that for herself. She'd be like, "Y'all are annoying." I'm kidding. This is bad. Casey's my brother. Yes. Yes. We can go into my siblings later. Yeah, but I have probably like one last topic I want to talk about today. And it's growing up in a family that was not
the standard traditional American
Yeah.
family. How was it for you living in the United States mm, and encountering all these problems that maybe
Yeah.
were
Yeah.
there? I don't know.
So, let's give some context. My family, it was my mom and my dad and my 3 sisters, Moldova. They moved to America. They moved to Massachusetts in 99. 2002, they had my brother. 2004, they had me. Then we moved down to South Carolina. And I remember we also, during that time growing up, like we didn't also have a lot. We didn't have a lot of things that other people had, because, they were just starting out. They didn't know English very well. They still my mom knows a lot more English now. My dad doesn't really. But yeah, growing up, we didn't have a lot of money. And I think my sisters probably experienced that way more than I did because they're the youngest one of the 3 is 10 years older than me. So there's like a very big age gap. But I remember growing up and automatically noticing something different between me and my friends, by the way that they all had extracurricular activities that they were able to go to, and like I wasn't, we didn't have the money for that, or the way that they kind of had a different relationships with their parents than I did. And I also noticed the foods that they ate were very different compared to me, and also the kind of beliefs and values that my mom has implemented on all of us growing up. And I automatically noticed that I was different and quirky. No, but I was different than other kids. I felt more American because I rejected being Slavic. I didn't like being Slavic growing up. Like I would tell my parents all the time, I wish we were American. I refused to speak Romanian, even though it was the only language that I would like be able to communicate with my parents. I kind of rejected a lot of it because I felt more closer to to where I'm growing up versus where my family's from. I think now I feel a little bit more connected. I'd say I think it's balanced between like being American and being Slavic. I feel a lot more connection with my Slavic roots because I was able to I guess, have a closer relationship with my mom. And in turn have a closer relationship with like my culture. But what was the question?
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. I was talking about how you felt more, like what culture you felt closer to. And
so
why.
yeah, growing up, I felt closer to being an American because I wanted to be an American, because I kind of wanted, I guess, what the other kids had.
To be like part of the
community. In a
community.
sense, because my parents were never, we had a very close-knit neighborhood, but my parents never reached out to people like Americans. I think the closest American family they were was to my best friend, like Alyssa, growing up, and like her parents. But even then, I never felt like I was close to any community because my parents weren't. And like as a child, your parents kind of drag you along to things, but that was never really a case for me because my parents, they were too busy trying to work for us and trying to get enough money for us to eat and live and have a roof over our heads, which I'm so grateful for, that they've sacrificed a lot for me, and I do respect them a lot for that. But sometimes growing up, I felt like I was just outside. I was not part of this circle that I really wanted to be in because it kind of felt like they had such an amazing friendship and like an entirely different family system than I did.
Did it change over time? Like, how do you feel now than you used to?
So now I feel, first of all, I feel very grateful that my parents instilled like continued culture, like our culture, Slavic culture in America.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel grateful that I guess I know conversational Romanian. Like can speak Romanian-ish, you know.
I understand you so like at so many times. Sometimes I'm like I forget a word and I'm like trying to figure it out, and then you just say something in Romanian. I'm like, oh, I know what that is.
That's crazy, because
We have a random communication style.
I'm also
There's like
happy that you know I grew up eating the foods that we ate, even though they were so different. And
what's your favorite dish? Do you have a favorite dish that's really traditional Romanian, Moldovan?
Not my favorite. I can name some. Plashinti was, we already talked about that, but like that was one of my top favorite foods, especially frying it. You like dip it in some sour cream, some smuntana, or as our Russians say smantana. Smantana. I like plov a lot, which is more Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan.
Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan. My mom grew up in Kyrgyzstan, so they had this it's kind of like a huge rice bowl with some vegetables.
I'd say just carrots and onions sauteed.
Okay, no mind.
Some rice,
and then some good meat, and it looks a little bit like curry.
Because it's used like with turmeric. A lot of turmeric is put in, so it's like in a yellow color.
Oh my gosh, I love that. If you ever go to like Uzbek or like any Slavic weddings, and then they have this like big huge bowl
and
of
it's so good.
Oh my gosh,
it's my favorite.
So good. I love that too. Oh, sometimes they put sweet like apple in it, apples and like dates or like figs, like really random or dried fruit.
I never grew up doing
really
that,
common.
but the Uzbekistan, the restaurant we went to, they did that, and I quite enjoyed it. So I'm not mad at it.
Like peaches,
like dried raisins, dried raisins.
Yes,
dried raisins or just raisins.
Exactly. Well, anything else you really liked? Like
borscht is like.
Oh my
God. We have to talk about borscht. So borscht is the soup of any Slavic Balkan country. It's usually made with beets. I grew up sometimes eating with beets, but like most of the time, if we had to make a quick borscht, it was just like with potatoes. But I feel like borscht was kind of a gateway into adulthood in my family, because if you knew how to make borscht by yourself, like you can be by yourself. Like you can support yourself in some sense. Like I remember I was able to make borscht by myself, and I was automatically given more freedom and responsibility in my household because I knew how to make borscht. I remember my mom, like a summer, almost every other day she'd wake me up, and like at 7 she'd like make a borscht. I'm like, okay. To me it was kind of fun. It was like it kind of kickstarted my love for cooking, and like I really enjoy cooking now from my mom.
Oh my gosh, if anyone meets this girl in front of me and she's in my kitchen with another gentleman called Max, oh my gosh,
we're crazy. We're crazy.
This is
together.
Crazy.
So
last
we
semester,
made I was gonna tell the story. In April, Max and I. So Veronica's the only person that has an apartment that has a kitchen. So we use that to our advantage, and we said this is ours now. Our kitchen.
Oh my gosh, this is where our car, our kitchen, and everything else comes into play. But basically, they were calling me up randomly, and if you can't be spontaneous, and Germans usually like to plan, but apparently I'm not anymore German.
We don't plan. No more planning.
Yes, it's just
spur
they
of the
just
moment.
called me up, and I'm like, so like, Veronica, today 5:00, the kitchen belongs to us.
Sit down. We cook. So
we cook. They literally made a 7-course
we planned the
meal.
7-course meal for a long time.
My gosh.
Right.
This was the most stressful thing.
It was good.
It was good, but then can you imagine how Lord just loves my random salads?
Yeah, so
and like noodles with something.
Veronica was like, I want to play a part, and we're like, this is our thing. But we gave her the chore of doing a salad, which is one of the courses. So you helped, and you also made the bread. The focaccia was really good. But
it's so there's like one thing about immigration or like living in a different country, and it's your recipes don't work in a different country. It's such a shame, but sometimes I would bake something and it doesn't work out because your yeast or whatever I
Even our
use, like
water.
your flour water is
Yeah.
so different.
It
Yes,
makes such a huge
a
difference.
big
Yeah.
difference. Yes, and it
Sometimes
doesn't
like
work.
you
But
try to make something,
focaccia,
I remember, and you're like, you don't have this ingredient in America.
oh my gosh, milk products and like everything that is like cottage cheese we have different. We have like Frischkäse, what is basically kind of like cottage
Yeah.
cheese in Germany, but it's not. It's more like a cream. And so I couldn't find anything that was close to it from the texture specifically. We have technically cream cheese here, but it's not the same as the
It's
one that I'm
not the
buying in
same.
Germany.
I'm like,
And
don't you
it
just use
doesn't
like
work.
sour cream? But I guess not.
No, and it's the same with like mozzarella and so on. It's like if
Sorry,
you
we're
ever
not
go to
good
Target
enough
or
for
Harris
you.
Teeter, no, but if you ever at like the cheese section, last time we went with Laura, some random French guy approached us and was like, "Are you French?" And I'm like, I feel like you just meet. If you ever want to meet your future husband and your future husband is international, go to the cheese section.
Cheese section. That's the place to be.
Well, maybe like last, like what is if you could give an advice to someone who grew up bilingual with two languages, two cultures, whatever, what are like the top three advices you would give to the person, and maybe top three advices you would give to your future, like to your past self, that you feel like now looking back is something you would have.
I think a big one
known.
is learn to embrace it. I think a lot of times I rejected it because of like the rocky relationship I had with my family, but which is with I guess almost every immigrant family, because it's difficult.
Yes.
But learn to embrace it, because it shaped my identity. It really did shape who I was. It shapes the way I think. It's my values, the way that like I think, I hope I'm more empathetic because of it, and I'm more open-minded when it comes to other people and other cultures.
I connected to you because of that. I didn't even know I needed a Slavic friend. I went through a similar thing with rejecting kind of my Slavic roots because of, media is also not portraying it in a really
especially nowadays.
nice light. And so I was also rejecting it. But the moment I knew, so many things that I grew up with, and
it was
like,
nice
oh
to
gosh, this
have
girl.
that friend at state, because something like my first year here, you weren't here, and I was really missing like my culture. I was missing my food. I was missing speaking Romanian to someone. Even if we don't speak Romanian, like I can speak in Russian, or like I can ask, because Russian also is like not as a major influence as Romanian, but like the language itself is an influence in my life. So I feel like being your friend is like it. I'm saying it's the same as for me as well. I'm glad that I found a friend who was able to relate to me on certain parts of my identity.
Your identity.
Yeah.
Exactly. Good point.
The identity library.
Yes. Finding your identity between different cultures. What is your second point that you will say? Do you have something in mind?
I'd say not only accepting, or something I should have told my younger self, accepting my, I guess, situation, or the fact that like, I also had, I guess, a different culture, like apart from American, and also knowing that both can live in me at the same time. Because I feel like for another part of my life, I wanted to be fully Slavic, and I liked being Slavic, and I didn't like being American, which was like a completely total flip-flop. But not only embracing your culture, but finding acceptance that both can live in you at the same time. Both growing up and being born and growing up in America versus like the home that I was raised in, they both exist in me and in my past, in my present, and in my future at the same time. And I don't think I don't want to ever stop wanting to speak Romanian, and I don't want to lose that language, and I don't want to lose the food, my culture, the traditions that we had, the way that we celebrated holidays. Like, that's something that I want to continue. If I ever have a family, I wanted to pass it down.
If you don't have a third
I don't
point,
even like.
it's fine too. I feel like that was a really powerful message of, like, the question of finding your identity between two different cultures, and how sometimes you don't really have to decide on one culture. Sometimes the fact that you're a combination of both is what makes you unique in a good way. And I feel like there are so many people out there that will appreciate maybe hearing these words, and I really appreciate hearing it from you too. I would wrap up with these words. I feel like they just should stay.
I want to have this conversation for forever. I was so nervous in the beginning, like, when is this going to end? And now I'm like, I feel like I want to say so much.
Continue.
I don't know.
Yes, maybe, who knows, in a year.
Zoom? I would totally be down for a Zoom call.
But thank you so much for being here on my podcast and kind of opening up my very first episode on Identity Library. I hope that someone will find this little chapter of my little big book, big podcast, interesting and could a little bit connect. And if you ever need Bobrov in your life,
contact me and I'll get you Bobrov. $20, man. $20 and you get your bones placed back together, but your ligaments
go
ripped.
into the woods.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored to be here, and thank you for listening. Veronica's amazing. I love you. Wow. You're beautiful, by the way. I love your hair. Your hair looks so good.
But yeah,
thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice day.